trade wars aren't fought with missiles. They're fought with markets. And right now, the world's two largest economies are locked in a high-stakes battle where tariffs, supply chains, and billion-dollar industries are the weapons of choice. On one side was Washington. US President Donald Trump, determined to reset the global trade order, has just imposed a fresh 10% tariff on Chinese imports, raising the total rate to 20%. He claims it's about fairness, about making America strong again. On the other hand, Beijing, China, is no longer willing to absorb the economic blows and has responded with swift and calculated force. Its first move? Shutting the door on US soybeans and lumber, effectively cutting off American farmers from one of their biggest customers. But that was just the beginning. What follows is a multi-billion-dollar escalation, one that could shake global markets, cripple industries, and redefine economic power for years to come. Because this isn't just another trade dispute. This is a battle over who controls the future. And the question remains, will the US step back? Let's find out. China didn't just respond to Trump's latest tariff hike. It struck with precision. The suspension of US soybean and lumber imports wasn't an impulsive decision. It was a carefully crafted move designed to maximize economic and political pressure without triggering a full-scale financial meltdown. For the US, soybeans are more than just a crop. They are a cornerstone of American agriculture, a $45 billion industry that relies heavily on exports. Nearly 30% of all US soybeans go to China, making it the largest foreign buyer of American crops. So when China announced an immediate halt to purchases from CHS Inc., Louis Dreyfus, and EGT, three of the biggest US agricultural firms, it wasn't just a regulatory decision. It was a direct strike on the heart of American farming. And China had the perfect justification. Instead of framing the ban as retaliation, Beijing cited phytosanitary violations. The presence of pests, ergot contamination, and harmful seed coatings in US soybean shipments. On paper, it looked like a routine quality control measure. But in reality, it was a political chess move. By leveraging health and safety standards, China found a way to cripple US exports without violating WTO trade agreements. Lumber was an even easier target. Over the years, Chinese customs had reported issues with invasive pests and fungi in US wood shipments. This gave Beijing the perfect excuse to block American logs indefinitely, crippling a sector that had already been struggling with falling demand and rising production costs. The US forestry industry, a sector worth over $100 billion, now faced yet another challenge, losing one of its largest buyers overnight. The brilliance of China's response lies in its strategic restraint. Rather than an all-out tariff escalation, Beijing chose surgical economic warfare, one that disproportionately hurts the US while keeping China insulated from major damage. Unlike the 2018 trade war, where China was still dependent on US crops, this time, it had alternative suppliers ready to step in. For Trump, this wasn't just a trade setback. It was a political disaster. The very states that helped elect him, rural America, the agricultural heartland, were now facing massive losses. And Beijing knew it. China's counterattack didn't stop with the soybean and lumber ban. That was just the opening salvo. The real impact came with a devastating $21 billion tariff package, a move designed to cause maximum economic pain in the US heartland. Unlike Trump's broad tariffs, which hit multiple Chinese industries, China's strategy was laser-focused. Target US agriculture, cripple rural economies, and turn Trump's voters against him. The new tariffs, ranging from 10% to 15%, didn't just affect a few select products. They hit everything from wheat to pork, beef to dairy, corn to cotton, and even chicken and seafood. Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Africa's geopolitics, economy, and changing landscape. Let's continue now. At first glance, these might seem like just another round of trade restrictions, but the timing was surgical. With the tariff set to take effect on March 10, 2025, China ensured that American farmers would feel the heat just as planting season begins. It wasn't just about squeezing profits. It was about creating uncertainty in the farming sector at the worst possible moment. Farmers don't just sell their crops. They plan years, making financial decisions based on global demand. With China, one of their biggest customers, effectively shutting its doors, U.S. farmers are now stuck in limbo, unsure whether to plant less, seek alternative buyers, or brace for massive losses. But the biggest blow isn't just financial, it's political. Trump's rural voter base is already feeling abandoned. His previous trade war in 2018 led to a record $28 billion bailout for farmers, a subsidy that many criticized as a band-aid solution for a self-inflicted wound. This time, the damage could be even worse. China understands something Trump doesn't. American farmers aren't just workers. They're a political force. In 2024, 78% of rural farming counties voted for Trump. Now, as they watch their profits evaporate, who will they blame? Beijing for defending its trade interests? Or Trump for dragging them into another economic war with no exit strategy? By hitting American agriculture where it hurts the most, China isn't just punishing U.S. businesses. It's laying the groundwork for political instability in the very regions that helped put Trump back in the White House. But the question is, how is this trade war different from 2018? In 2018, when Trump first waged a trade war against China, Beijing found itself in a difficult position. Back then, China's economy was still deeply intertwined with American agricultural exports, especially soybeans. A sudden halt to U.S. imports would have meant food shortages, supply chain disruptions, and skyrocketing prices. But fast forward to 2025, and the landscape has completely changed. This time, China isn't just retaliating. It's doing so from a position of strength. Over the past 7 years, China has executed a long-term strategy to insulate itself from U.S. trade aggression. One of the biggest shifts? Brazil. Since 2018, China has diversified its soybean supply chains, making Brazil its primary supplier. In 2024, Brazil accounted for nearly 80% of China's soybean imports, making U.S. soybeans far less critical to Beijing's food security. But China didn't stop there. The Chinese government has spent years deepening trade partnerships across South America, securing deals with Argentina and Paraguay to further reduce reliance on American crops. Meanwhile, Russia has stepped in as a wheat supplier, ensuring that any disruptions to U.S. grain exports wouldn't leave China scrambling for alternatives. And then there's China's domestic agricultural revolution. Unlike in 2018, when it was still heavily dependent on imports, China has heavily invested in self-sufficiency, using technology to boost domestic crop yields. Vertical farming, AI-driven agricultural planning, and genetically optimized crops have allowed China to produce more food at home while reducing its vulnerability to foreign supply shocks. The result? Unlike in 2018, when both sides suffered from tariffs, China now has the upper hand. It can afford to cut off U.S. imports without fearing domestic shortages. Meanwhile, American farmers, who still rely on China as their biggest foreign market, are left with nowhere to turn. And that's what makes this trade war different. In 2018, Beijing had to walk a tightrope, trying to retaliate against Trump while ensuring its economy didn't collapse in the process. In 2025, that tightrope is gone. China is now in a position to dictate the terms of this economic battle, forcing the U.S. to either negotiate on Beijing's terms or face a level of economic pain that Trump never anticipated. On the surface, China's response to Trump's tariffs looks like a straightforward trade dispute, one country imposing countermeasures against another. But Beijing's actions carry a much deeper message, one that goes beyond agriculture, tariffs, and even economics. This isn't just about punishing the U.S. for trade restrictions. It's about sending a signal to the world. China will not be bullied, and it will dictate the terms of global commerce. And after day one of Trump's tariff war, China's reaction has been even stronger. Diplomatic statements are usually measured, calculated, and carefully worded. But this time, China wasn't holding back. If war is what the US wants, be it a tariff war, a trade war, or any other type of war, we're ready to fight till the end. The Chinese embassy's official handle posted on X, moments after Trump's explosive remarks in a joint session of Congress. For Beijing, this was more than just a response. It was a declaration, not just to Washington, but to the entire world. China wasn't going to play defense. It wasn't going to bow to pressure or negotiate from a position of weakness. This time, it was ready to go the distance. Trump had framed his tariffs as a fight for economic fairness, arguing that, for decades, other countries have used tariffs against us. Now it's our turn to fight back. But Beijing saw it differently. From China's perspective, this wasn't about trade. It was about Washington's long-standing attempt to contain China's rise. And now, China was making it clear. Those days were over. This statement wasn't just political bravado. It was backed by action. By openly stating that it was ready for any type of war, China was drawing a line in the sand. If Trump escalated further, whether through more tariffs, sanctions, or economic blacklisting, China would respond in kind, with no hesitation. This was a rare moment when China broke away from its usual diplomatic restraint. It wasn't just reacting to US aggression. It was signaling its willingness to outlast Trump in an economic fight that could reshape global power dynamics. And that's what makes this statement so significant. In trade disputes, words often carry as much weight as actions. But with tensions at an all-time high, this wasn't just rhetoric. It was a warning. A warning that for the first time in modern history, a global power was standing toe-to-toe with Washington, ready to match every move, hit for hit. The trade war had officially entered uncharted territory, and the world was now watching to see who would blink first. Do you think Trump will regret his decisions? Is it too late to step back? Let us know in the comment section. Is it possible to fight a self-dependent China? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: African politics, economy, and increasing power. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.
Tell us what you think in the comment section. Like and share the video, and subscribe so that you don't miss any of our African videos. It's the best way to support us.